Welcome to this week's edition of the Arkansas Broadband Leaders Network. We're back on our regular schedule every 2 weeks, and so moving forward, every 2 weeks we have these calls at 10 a.m. from 10 to 11, and we go through general updates on the broadband programs in the state of Arkansas, on the latest happenings, what's going on, and how you can help us accomplish universal connectivity across the state. As always, we'll have some updates and some discussion. We have some good updates today across the board, so very excited to share the updates we have with you across the team, and look forward to that. Quickly, updates on the BEAD program. Our Volume 2 document remains in the legal review stage at NTIA, and so we look forward to that getting across the finish line, hopefully sometime soon. On the Arkansas Mapping Challenge process, which everyone, kudos to you, you were very instrumental in having a successful Arkansas Mapping Challenge process the last few months. We actually were able to transmit the final results of the challenge process to NTIA yesterday, and so the next couple of slides we're going to walk through the details and kind of what that looks like. Now, I do want to note for everyone that this is subject to NTIA approval. Okay, so what we're going to show you today from a results standpoint is not final per se. There is a little bit of back and forth that's going to happen between the state of Arkansas and NTIA on these challenge process results, and so we think it's if not the exact numbers, it's very close, but there is a little bit of back and forth that'll happen over the next month or two, perhaps. And so that's where the process is going to play out as we go back and forth with the feds on this just a little bit. Quickly, the summary overall, different types of entities, right? Remember, we talked through this process very much over the last several months. Remember, there were only technically there were only three entities that could submit challenges in the process per the federal guidance: local governments, units of nonprofit, and service providers. So local governments challenged a total of 1,532 locations. Okay, our nonprofits challenged 577 locations across the state. Our ISPs challenged over 72,000 locations across Arkansas. Now you're going to see Arkansas State Broadband Office listed, okay? There are a couple of nuances and caveats to this. So our office had to make sure that all of the, what they call enforceable commitments, what that means is all the different grant programs that are out there that have funded broadband infrastructure across the state and across the country are accounted for on our state map. Okay, so that includes not only the grants that our office has issued over the last several years, but other grant programs that other federal agencies are responsible for. Okay, so we have to account for all of that within our challenge process, and that's why our office is listed as a challenger, because that's just sort of how the system works. And so in total, almost 500,000 locations across the state were impacted by this process in one way or the other. Okay, a lot of locations, and we're going to have a breakdown a couple of ways in the next slide or two. Out of all those locations, 486,000 locations that were impacted in Arkansas, 67,000 locations were sustained. Okay, so the original challenges that came in were agreed to and sustained. A little less than 2,000 had to be rejected for one reason or another. There were 4,200 plus that was some sort of incomplete status on those. Okay, there were over 1,000 locations where the provider agreed with the challenge and did not submit a rebuttal. Okay, we had where it says provider did not respond. It's a very large number, 410,000 locations. Those are inclusive of, for instance, other federal grant programs like we just talked about. All right, so that number is accounted for there. And there were also 531 locations where the challenge was moot because it was impacted by a different challenge that was successful. So you had multiple challenges for the same location, okay? And 531 of those instances happened where one was approved and then the other one went away because it was already approved because of that process. So again, in total, 486,000 locations plus were impacted by this process. So what does that mean holistically? At the end of the day, post this challenge process, we have about 1.346 million broadband serviceable locations across the state. When you look at the number of served locations with internet access, plus the locations that are funded by some grant program, plus the planned service builds that the ISPs told us are going to happen, okay? That covers about 1.26 million locations, leaving an unserved and underserved count of about 78,469. So as of today, moving forward into the BEAD program, again, subject to NTIA approval, they have to go check our work, all right? There would be 78,469 locations across Arkansas that would be eligible for the BEAD program. What does that mean? That means there's going to be 78,469 red and blue dots, okay, on the state broadband map that we've been talking about for a long time now. And again, subject to NTIA approval, but that's where the number sits as of today. We wanted to walk you through today the tentative BEAD timeline. Now again, this is tentative and subject to change for two reasons. NTIA has to approve not only the Volume 2 document that talks about how we're going to operate the grant program later this year, but they also have to approve all these locations that we just talked about. So those two things happening impacts this timeline, but here's where it stands as of today. And highlighted sort of the important things for you. So round one, okay, in the infrastructure grant program as of today, we would project out that round one would open towards the end of September, okay, last through the middle of October, all right. That's the time frame of where the round would happen. We fast forward a little bit to round two, and that looks more of an end of December, sort of second half December through first half of January, okay, for round two to occur. Then our office and the ISPs have to do some things, and we would anticipate wrapping up the statewide grant awards by first half of June of next year. So this is an elongated process. And when we say round one and round two, I want to differentiate between what's happened before. These are connected. So in the past, you know, round one, we did some grants, we go to the legislature, get them approved, right? Another round, do some, go get them approved, right? That's not how this works. Round one and round two are actually connected, okay? So we're going to go through round one and do some things, and then a lot of that information is going to transfer into round two, and we're going to do some more things. So all of this ends up being one large grant round that awards the whole state. That's what's going to come to the General Assembly. So at the end of this thing, we're going to go through all these processes, award all of the grants, and go to the General Assembly and give them one packet for every grant award for the whole state at one time. Okay, that's how this one's going to work, which is different from before. Switching gears just a little bit to the Digital Skills and Opportunity Plan. If you recall, we had our application in for the funding for this year submitted back on May 28th. We're currently in what they call a curing process. That's where we go back and forth with the feds a little bit to fix some things or tweak some things. We submitted responses to the federal government this week on that, and so we're waiting further instructions from them, but we think approval on that plan is going to happen pretty soon, we think. All right, so updates on stakeholder engagement. The next wave of county visits is going to start about a month from now, a little longer than a month from now. Doing a little different this time because we don't have a whole lot of time, as much time as we did before when we did some visits. We're packing everyone into 2 weeks to get folks ready for the launch of the BEAD application round, okay? So the weeks of August 19th and August 26th, we're going to hit everyone, but we're going to do it in groupings, all right? So we're going to group anywhere between 3 to 6 counties and have one meeting location and invite everyone to that one location. All right, we're going to do it on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. We've heard from a lot of folks that, you know, we needed to offer some better times for people to be able to come in person. So we're going to try to do that by going on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays and offering times at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. To hopefully allow for more folks to attend. We think we're going to try that this time and see how it goes. So 16 stops over 2 weeks, focused on BEAD and what's about to occur. Next week, you can begin to look for announcements around specific days and the times and locations and the groups for next week. And again, we're going to walk you through kind of more detailed on the timeline, what it looks like, what your responsibilities would be. So 2 things really on the infrastructure side. 1, engaging with your ISPs that are in your county and all the ISPs that are sort of around your county as well. We need you to engage with them. Ask them, what are their plans? Are they wanting to get involved in BEAD? Okay, you should encourage them to get involved in BEAD. And so we're going to do that. We're going to provide a list for you, okay, of the ISPs in your county and all the ISPs that surround your county, and as much contact information as we can possibly get from them. So that way you'll know who to reach out to. We're also going to walk you through the letters of support, what that looks like, how many points does that get in the application process, who can do letters of support, and walk through all of that with you. And we will briefly on these stops talk about non-deployment and maybe plant some seeds there too, okay? All right, we're going to switch it up a little bit and go to Lane, who's our deputy director on our team, and let Lane give an update this morning. Lane.
Good morning, Glenn. Thanks. Want to thank all of our partners and all the participants in the challenge process. It was a pretty big, complex process that we pulled off almost without a hitch. A statewide effort, ISPs and local governments and nonprofits. Appreciate all of your involvement, along with our software vendors and our Michael Baker International. Pulled off a fast-paced 90-day project in record time. Again, 1.3 million locations, 400 some locations were challenged, and only one little glitch that lasted, less than 48 hours. Very proud of our team here. Very proud of our partners, and so thank you. The state broadband map will be updated. We're not going to do an interim update. We're going to wait until the NTIA has certified our results, and then we will push out an update, and you'll see the changing of the colors of the dots on the map as soon as our results are validated with the NTIA. But again, thanks to everybody. Hats off. This was a very complex project. I've been running IT projects for the state for most of my career, and I think this is the most complex yet most successful project I've ever seen, and that's because of the people involved. So, hats off. Glenn, that's about all I've got.
All right, thank you, Lane. Let me. Okay, next up will be Cam, our digital opportunity manager, providing an update on his side of the operation. Cam, good morning.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning, team. So I want to take a little bit of time to talk about the capacity grant program and the key differences between that and the competitive program. We can only administer one of these programs, and so as Glenn noted, we applied for our capacity grant program, and we're focusing on drafting RFPs to do digital skills statewide level, devices on a statewide level, and the community Wi-Fi pilot programs at select locations across the state. The competitive program, we are not allowed to apply because we are applying for the capacity grant program. One key thing there is the same organizations that could be subrecipients of the capacity program. They can apply separately for the competitive program. They can't do a duplicative project. So what we're doing, they can do things that are complementary of what we're aiming to do. We won't get into the details of that today, but we'll talk about that at a later date. On the last call, I mentioned that the NOFO could be coming any day, and as it stands right now, the 30-day mandatory window from the first awarding of the capacity grant, the 30-day time clock is set to close on July 26th. So by next Friday, the capacity NOFO will have come out from the NTIA. They are hosting a webinar on the 25th next week to discuss the new program. It's going to be at 1 p.m. our time, and hope you guys can join, especially if you're interested in applying. I think we go on to the next slide, Glenn. They released a one-pager detailing who can apply, things to get started on now. Generally, be familiar with the federal grant program and process. Get organized. Start talking to your potential partners if you're looking at that. Explore the federal documents that you'll need to apply, budgetary documents, etc. And be registered and active on sam.gov to apply. And I don't think I have anything else, Glenn. If you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the chat.
Yeah, great job, Cam. And so again, we hope that folks across the state are interested in this grant program. We can't apply to this one because we're doing the other one. And so this is an opportunity for folks to directly apply to the federal government and to do digital equity, digital opportunity type programs. And so we would encourage everyone who has an interest in those activities to take a look at this program and potentially apply. All right, updates from our partners. We're going to reach out to see Philip Powell. Good morning, Philip. Updates from NTIA this morning.
Morning, Glenn. Morning, everyone. As Glenn mentioned, Volume 2 is still being reviewed by NTIA. I believe we're close to approval, and so the state will be notified once it's approved. And as Glenn mentioned, the challenge process results have been submitted to NTIA. So what NTIA does at that point is they validate the data. They basically rerun the process and make sure the numbers all add up. And so in that process, I'm not sure how long that'll take, because a lot of states it's taken months for some states, but that's because the data wasn't as clean. It's really, when you get down to it, it's numbers. And I think Arkansas Broadband team has done a great job packaging it. So hopefully it won't take as long as other states. And I'm sure the state will get feedback soon, so they'll have a better idea of a timeline on working with the results. And that's all I have for y'all today. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Philip. Let's see. Okay, so with that, we'll go to discussion and questions. If anybody has anything this morning, we'll look at the chat box first and see if there's anything there. I don't see anything at the moment, so feel free, throw something in the chat box, or if you want, feel free to come off of mute, and we can chat through any questions this morning.
Hey, Glenn, this is Cole in Hot Springs.
Hey, Cole.
We know about the schedule for when you're going to be doing your 2-week blitz.
Yeah. So we have the groupings. Again, it ranges from 3 to 6. I've got them out on the whiteboard at the moment with tentative days and tentative times. But our team needs to reach out to the county judges in the host sites to confirm a location for us. And so we're going to be doing that next week. And so as those get kind of, official from our county judges, they can secure a location to host sort of the group meetings. We're going to send that out as soon as we have. So you should start seeing some of those come out starting next week.
Will that be a meeting with the local broadband committee as well, or just the county?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a big invite. We're going to have a big invite list on that, Cole. So
I'm just making sure I'm not left out.
No, absolutely. Yeah. All the judges are invited, the mayors are invited, the county committees are invited, the state legislators are invited, the ISPs are invited, everybody. There's going to be a massive invitation list to this one.
Wow. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Cole. Let's see in the chat box. Let's see. Clara wanted, let's see, can you put the link information for the grant in the chat? And Cam did that, so it's in the chat box for folks. We will also include this on the follow-up communication, as everyone knows, in case there's anyone new this week. Once we have we have the call later today, a communication goes out via email that includes the PowerPoint that we showed you today, along with notes and links for information for folks. That will come out as well. Let's see. So again, Cam posted the link to that particular grant opportunity in the chat box. That'll come later today as well in the communication that goes out. Let's see, Hunter said regarding round 1 and round 2, noting Glenn's presentation, September, December timeframes, are those the calls focused on deployment and access funding? Hunter, you wanna clarify that real quick for me?
Sure. Good morning, all. So it's just to clarify on that, Glenn. I probably didn't use the right language. The two on the September and the December that you called out in your slides, that's regarding the BEAD funding, correct? So that is those are the requests related to deployment, installment, and other types of things, correct?
Yes.
That's separate from skills.
I wish.
Skills is
cool. So yes, Hunter, that's correct. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Yes, what we're showing on the screen now, a tentative BEAD timeline, this is for the infrastructure side. That's correct. So what we're looking at right now are the tentative dates for the infrastructure grants. Okay.
Thanks, Glenn.
Great call out there. Great call. Let's see. Bob said there doesn't seem to be a link to register for the July 25th meeting. Yeah, Bob. So it's in the slide deck here at the bottom, but we're also when you get this, you'll be able to click it from the PDF, I think. But Cam also put it into the chat box below, just for clarification. This is a federal webinar. Okay, so NTIA is the one that's putting on the webinar. This one is. The link is also in the chat box. We'll also have the link for you in the email communication that follows this meeting. And our team separately, in a couple of weeks, we'll do a follow-up webinar for folks that we'll send out an invite to everyone as well to go kind of into the weeds and the details of the competitive grant program and offer some more details there. But the link is in the chat box for you, Bob. Let's see. All right, good job, Bob. Glad you got it there. And again, I know this is a lot of information up. Relatively, we go through it pretty quickly on these calls, but again, everyone will get this PowerPoint in the email later today. We'll give it just a little bit longer, just in case any other questions or prompts or discussion. Let's see, John's asking, probably back to the timeline, I'm sure. So what are the CBG reference subsidies? Okay, so how that works is, for a little kind of sneak peek under the hood of how the grant program is going to work. Essentially, and again, the way we're doing, the way that this particular grant program for infrastructure is happening is different from the way that Arkansas has ever done it before, okay? So what's going to happen in this particular grant program is that the state is going to be divided up into jigsaw puzzle pieces. Those pieces are census block groups. Okay, there's about 2,100 or so CBGs or census block groups around the state. And so what's going to happen is, essentially behind the scenes, we're going to do some data analysis to calculate the cost. Well, to calculate an estimated cost of how much it would take to build out any one CBG as far as broadband infrastructure. Okay, so all 2,100 CBGs across the state are going to have a number attached to them. All right, with an estimated cost to build out in that area. All right, and so the reason that's important is we're going to have that number for every CBG. We're going to post that number for every CBG, and when the bids come in from the ISPs, okay, to build out in their project area, we're going to take kind of what our projection cost looks like versus what they are applying for and compare those two, and there's a score related to that. So part of our 100-point scoring matrix that's used to grade the applications as they come in is based on the cost of the grant request that they're asking for. And so we compare what they're asking for against what our estimation looks like, and there's some points and math that happens to score them on that particular part of the scoring matrix that we have. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Let's see, so the CBG reference subsidies were posted public. Yes, that's going to be public information. Yes. Yep. So those will go out in advance of having the actual application round. Yep. Okay. Well, with that, we'll wrap this meeting up for today. Again, we'll have another AVLN call in 2 weeks. In the meantime, the county judges can look for communication from our team next week to get those locations scheduled and have location dates and times cemented, and then we'll go public with that and tell everyone where to go. Again, we hope that having better days and better times hopefully allows for more people to attend. That's what we would like to have happen. And we will do some virtual webinars like this covering the same information for people who can't go when we'll get those scheduled after the 2-week blitz. But until then, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.